Hey guys, if you're on here from the subreddit for domestic girlfriend. First of all, thank you to everybody on the subreddit thread for being so kind and nice and introducing me to this manga. It is an adventure, and it has been an adventure. For those of you that don't know, last Thursday I just finished the anime, and I went to the subreddit thread at about 2 in the morning, and I said, hey, I just finished it. This manga worth it? Am I gonna be sad and disappointed? And the response I got back was, yes, you're gonna be sad and disappointed, but you know what? Join it, because it's the best roller coaster and worst roller coaster, and the highs and the lows and everything. It's worth it. It's good, but it's terrible, but it's good, but we love it. It's our terrible, and we love it. So join us in the shit show that is this manga. Not that it's a bad shit show, but you know, it has moments where it is a complete just, I'm not sure what was going on. So I said, all right, I'm gonna try and wipe my brain of everything I watched in the anime and come in with no preconceived notions per recommendation of one of the comments. And I said, okay, sweet. So Saturday morning I started reading it and kept reading it and kept reading it, and then about 12:30 on Sunday morning I went, well, I'm dedicated at this point, I must finish it. So about 4 a.m. on Sunday I finished it. 277 chapters, and that may not have been the smartest idea. I think it had a small effect on my psyche, so hopefully I'll be okay the rest of the week. But hey, you know, we're 12 a.m. on Monday morning here now, and I'm making a video, so you tell me. The main reason I wanted to make this video was to talk a little bit about one of the main things that people seem to have controversy over, or not necessarily disagree about, but they were a little bit angsty about it, and I kind of want to give my take on it and what I got out of the anime and what I got out of the arc, and what I thought of it, and maybe some parts that I might have wished were different. Not that it wasn't okay the way that it was, but wish that it was different, or maybe there's more development in. So without further ado, let's get into it so I don't keep you guys for too long. So the big one that everybody is upset and, you know, takes really to heart, which, given like any anime or manga, is how it ended, right? Like the fact that some people were like, he should have ended up with Rui, and other people that he absolutely should have ended up with Hina, but I don't like the way that this and that, and so I just kind of wanted to clear my opinion, at least, on it. So one of the big things that stood out to me was they did flesh out a lot of the relationship issues and things like that pretty decently in some of the earlier chapters, like the 140 to 200 range. And then after that, I felt like it got a little bit muddy, but I think they were relying on us remembering and feeling the same things that we did when we read the other chapters, at least for me. I wanted to talk a little bit about like the issues that I saw with the Rui Natsuo relationship, and I think couple of the reasons why it didn't work out and why it didn't make sense for it to work out. And I'm sure I will get people that will completely disagree with me on this, and feel free to comment your own opinions or tell me, you know, you're stupid, you know, jump off of a pier into the water because you are dumb. But you know, hey, that's what the internet's for, and so that way you can have a voice and I can have a voice. But yeah, one of the issues that I saw with it was when Ruri is talking about moving to New York, she and Natsuo are already having relationship issues, right? Things aren't exactly great. They're already arguing, and they have problems, and you know, there's upset, and there's a half-naked woman in his bed, and you know, he thinks he's an idiot, he's gonna get taken advantage of, and there's already a distinctive lack of trust and feeling like the relationship is fragile. Because it is, you know, I mean, they're keeping it a secret, and it's not in the open. They can only not really have normal dates, so there's already this tension there, right? And I wanted to kind of contrast that to Hina after she leaves the school and she tells Natsuo, move on with your life, forget about me. So Rui moves to New York, even though these things are already happening, because he says, hey, I don't want the relationship to be a straitjacket. So, hey, absolutely. Who wouldn't disagree with that? You know, who would disagree with that, right? So they move separate problems, but it just magnified the issues that they had. Hina moves, has no contact with Natsuo, but still maintains everything that she was feeling. Sure, she put it on a back burner, she had to put it, you know, behind her and everything else like that, but like she never stops feeling those feelings. And it was evident in her just, you know, the scenes with her crying her eyes out alone in her apartment, and flashbacks and memories, and finally saying, I need to move home because I don't even know who I am anymore. Like, I have this identity teaching, but, you know, then I was with a guy that was married and I thought we were going to be together, and I don't know who I am anymore, but I know that this isn't me. This isn't the life that I want for myself. Through all of that, she's saying all this, and at the same time, in the back of her mind, she goes, I know that I love him. There's no like ands or buts about it. No everything. She's like, he might not love me or whatever, but like I still love him, you know. So that's kind of one of the big things I see is, you know, that the whole like moving away and making her feelings for him stronger, and Rui moving away and feeling like their relationship was strained and already ending, yada yada yada. And the other thing I wanted to touch on was talking about like, for somebody that does have a life partner, I just wanted to say that the idea of like dedicating your life to somebody else, which is what it means to be with somebody long term, right, is a very, very important point, and a very important either strong point or weak point within a relationship. And there's always, again, I think there's a scene talking about when Rui and Natsuo go to the mountains, and the old couple's talking to them, and she said, you know, there's always somebody that dedicates more in a relationship, right? There's always somebody that pulls a little harder than the other person and says, hey, you know, I'm gonna keep us together. Like, it's just always the way that it is. But ideally you want almost to be exact same. Like, you that's how a relationship works, and without that, like, you're not gonna get very far. Like, that's just the way that it goes. But what I want to talk about, like, what it means to really do that. But Hina, when she goes to the cafe, talks to the boss about how I don't care what it means, I don't care what I'm gonna do, I want to dedicate my life to helping him, whatever that looks like, whether we're together or we're not together. I wish we would be together, but if we're not, even if we're not, my goal is to make him be successful because I care about him so much. Nothing else in my life compares to that. Now, we argue that that might be too much to be with somebody, and you should really care about yourself and make sure you're taking care of yourself. Yes, but when you're with somebody else, you want them to feel as though they're in it with you, right? Like they're for you. They want you to be successful, and to her, that's what matters, is him, you know. And it was just, for me, it was so clear at that point. I said, oh, wow, we should all want somebody that feels that way about us. Like, hey, I want to make you successful, I want you to be successful. Not that Rui didn't necessarily want him to be successful, but I think Rui also felt like she had her own dreams and own ambitions and own goals within that. She's a very fiercely independent person, right? And she wants to be on her own, moving to New York, working in the restaurant, all this stuff. Like, she was ready for that. She wanted that, and so for her it was like, oh, you know, we're both working on the stuff that we want to do, and almost not realizing that he needed more support. So the other thing I wanted, that kind of leads into my other thing, which was you know, the old adage that, you know, when the going gets tough, the tough get going. And that's when it really kind of fleshed out for me the difference between Hina and Rui in terms of how they handled like the adversity within the relationship. So when Rui finds out that Natsuo can't write anymore, right? Like, he's hit his block, he's over with, he's done, he's, you know, throwing out his manuscript, it's emotional, it's heartbreaking, and everybody felt so bad at that moment in time. She flips out. She goes, oh my God, why didn't you tell me? And he goes, well, I felt like I couldn't. You're going through your stuff in New York. I can't share that with you, which is, to me, if you were in a couple with somebody, major red flag, right? You have to be able to share, especially the hard times. That you have to be able to share that. If not, what are you basing it off of? So instead of doubling down and saying, look, like, we have to be in this together, dude. Like, we have to talk this out. I know we're having a hard time and this is rough, but like, we've got to figure out how to move forward with this. She immediately says, the relationship is the problem. It's putting too much pressure on us. We need to break up because obviously you can't handle it and I can't handle it. We don't know how to handle it, which at that age, like, you probably don't. Like, I'll be real, like, relationships are hard and they don't get any easier, but at that age, it's a lot, you know, and it's just easier to break up at that point, which is, hey, you know, do that. When Hina finds out that he can't write and he is having such a hard time and everything else like that, she immediately goes into, how can I help you? How can I fix this? How can I make this better? I want you to be successful. As far as like talking to his mentor, is he going to be able to write again? What's going on with him? How can we help him? Saving his manuscript from the trash. And again, and you know, we don't know that Rui might have done that if she was there. Maybe she would have seen it. But like Hina immediately goes into how this is your dream. This is something you're amazing at that I want you to continue to be amazing at. And I care about you so much. I want to be able to fix this. What does that mean? I'm going to be there. I want to be around you. I need to be with you. Like, what can I do to help? And it's all encompassing. And for me, when Ruri didn't know how to handle that complexity within the relationship or with Natsuo, necessarily picking up on what he needed at that moment in time. Not that it's her fault, but that's who she is as a person, was that she had her own things that she was working on and striving towards, and she thought if we just both focus on the stuff that we have to focus on, the relationship will be fine. When in reality, like, the relationship is almost as much work as the things that you're working on. And if you don't have the ability to compartmentalize within there and help your partner out in those rough times, it's probably not going to work out, unfortunately. It's hard work. Relationships are hard work, and anybody that tells you differently is just lying through their teeth. But finally, I wanted to talk about the big one, right? The big thing. So we're already at like 11 minutes here, and I won't keep you guys too much longer, but we'll try and get through this here, which is this. Talking about the idea of sacrifice. And the moment when Rui realizes that she could never love Natsu as much as Hina does. Seeing the ring, then, you know, the necklace with the rings on it, and realizing that she's been in love with him for all this time, you know, and it's all going through her head. Seeing Natsuo put his entire life, I think, on hold for Hina in the hospital, saying, I'll do whatever it takes to make it happen. And I think that flashed me back also to when Natsuo was in the hospital and after the stabbing, and Hina puts her entire life essentially on hold and says, I'm going to take care of him, be around him, and make sure he's all right. And parallels to what Ryu was doing, which was, oh, I still got to work, I've still got a job, I've got a career, I've got things I have to do, dude. Like, I know you're stabbed, but like, me being in the hospital is not going to make you any better, any faster. Which is, I mean, from a very logical standpoint, which Rui is, from a very logical standpoint, makes absolute perfect sense. But from an emotional and a heart standpoint, and from a relationship and a love standpoint, sometimes the things you do don't make sense. And what Hina did didn't really make him better, faster, or anything else like that, not necessarily, but it's symbolic, right? And that's what I think they were getting into with that. So putting his entire life on hold with that, I think Rui realized when push comes to shove that Natsuo would do the right thing regardless, right? Regardless of whatever it meant for his feelings, whatever things he may have felt at the time, right? For Hina, he would put all of those on hold and throw them out the door. Not even on hold, he would throw them out the window to be with Rui because of the kid, because he still loved you. I still love you. It's not that I don't love you, you know, and we have a kid together. This makes sense, right? He does have a very logical side. Like, he's very emotional, and he's, you know, very driven by his feelings because he's a writer and a playwright and all this other stuff. But Rui realizes that, like, he would do that because he loves me so much. He would do the right thing, and goes, I can't do that, right? She realizes that in the end that this idea of loving somebody to the point of saying I can't live without you, right? It brought me back to something that Hina tells Natsuo in the really early chapters, right? Which is this: is being with me means like dying together, right? And she says, you know, she looks in the eyes and says, see, you're still scared, you don't understand, like, being with me is taboo and all this other stuff, and we'd have to die together. But that kind of like, I can't live without you mentality, that's yeah, you know, people would argue with it, you know, that's okay, yeah, you know, I could live without you, but I don't want to. But like, that kind of passion, that kind of grip, I mean, that's what it is, right? That's what that love is that magnetism, that feeling of can't live without you. I think Rui realized that, you know, if push comes to shove, like, say hypothetically, of course, if Natsuo dies, Hina would, I mean, personally, from reading everything in there, I think she would die. Like, not necessarily like through suicide or something, but of a broken heart, of a lack of a will to live, just to melt away. because she cared about him that much. Her entire life turned from, I don't know what I want to do, to being, I want to be with this person. This is my person. And Rui is more of a survivor type, right? Like, she perseveres, you know, she loses her sense of taste, and, you know, goes after the guy at the restaurant and just like really goes in, right? Like, she's broken and not to it helps, but you know, she's a fighter, right? Not that Hina isn't necessarily, but it's a difference in character and personality and drive and everything else like that. You know, if Natsuo died, would Rui just stop living? Probably not. You know, probably go on to do great things in his memory and everything else like that. Not that she didn't love him any less, but it's a different type, right? And so I think the ending, as much as people didn't necessarily like it, and you know, I would agree they could have fleshed out a lot more in the last chapters. I felt like it got rushed, but who am I to judge? I'm not a writer. I can't draw and I can't write, so I don't know. This is just my opinion on it. But her realizing that they needed to be together because of that love was kind of her final gift to him, right? For Rui, having their child was evidence of their love, right? For her, spending the rest of their lives together and growing old together and doing things together, that is evidence of the Hina and Natsuo. So I mean, it's two parallel things that exist within the same universe, and that's the best way I think that you know, that it could have gone, right? So for Rui, she was content with that, right? She was okay saying, this kid that we made together is my gift, and I'm okay with that. You know, this is evidence of our love, and you need to be with the person that literally can't live without you. I'm independent. I've got my own things. I've got my own stuff. I've already proven to myself that I can do things on my own, and I'm okay with that. And I don't necessarily need you. Not that I don't love you and that it wouldn't be great and we wouldn't have a great life, but I don't necessarily need you. And when you're in a relationship, if you don't look at another person and go, I need you in my life, then maybe look somewhere else, because you should have that. And to me, that's what spoke to me at the end. And it was very hard to get to this point, and it was a lot of thinking today. But yeah, so it comes down to that. You know, what does it mean to say, I can't live without you? So thanks again for everybody. I don't know if you'll stay to the end. This is 17 minutes. It's a little bit long, kind of long-winded. My bad. I might do another video on some of the other stuff potentially later on, but this is the one that I wanted to do tonight. So, much love. Thanks for everything, and hopefully you guys have a great night.